We are back in session. I need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are back in regular session, and the next item on the agenda is item number 6, and it's a public hearing. Ms. Strine, good morning. Public hearing for the 2019 Home Investment Partnership Program and approval of the resolution. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about the program and for the people who are watching?
Okay, sure. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So this is the beginning of the public hearing. I just want to give you an update and tell you a little bit about the program since some of you aren't familiar. It's the Eastern Panhandle Home Consortium, comprises of Jefferson, Berkeley, Morgan County, and the city of Martinsburg is the cognizant agency that administers the grants that come through HUD. What we have done here is we've utilized most of the home funding for our first-time home buyers program, which has been very effective. Cumulatively, since the program began in 2004, we've done 261 first-time home buyers, and we're up to $5.5 million. We also have set aside, it's called Community Housing Development Organization Funds. They're called CHODO, and that has been utilized by Habitat for Humanity. But I have some exciting news, and I can't really go into all the details, but I've been meeting with the city of Ranson because, as you know, when I went around in the fall, I went around to not only the 3 counties, which I do every year, but I go to all the jurisdictions. So when I went to Ranson, we started having some meetings because they're really concerned about the affordable housing problems that we have here in Jefferson County. So I'm working with them, and I'm trying to find some ways to get some affordable housing, more affordable housing here.
Yeah.
So that's some of the best news. Collectively, we didn't do much here in Jefferson County with the first-time home buyers, but I had a workshop in January at Integrity Mortgage, and I'm working on 2 applications right now. One will be closing in a week, and then one I'm just receiving the full application this week. And I'm working with 2 individuals. They've been pre-qualified by their mortgage companies and banks, and they insist on living in Jefferson County. So they're working very hard on trying to find an affordable house here. So, if you know anybody that's selling one, let me know.
The inventory is pretty low right now, isn't it? Isn't inventory pretty low as far as, the market has just dictated Jefferson County home prices. They're a lot higher than they were half a decade ago. I mean, some of the prices are a little crazy to me even.
What is the median? Do you know what the median is right now? The median single-family dwelling?
Well, that's what I was looking at, the figures before I came over here. On average for ours, cumulative for the 3 counties in the city of Martinsburg, our average sale price was $135. Now, you know, the last couple ones we did over here before, because the year before we did 4 loans, they were, well, we had some that were actually under 100 in Ranson, but the ones in Charlestown were like 189 and 201.
So we didn't meet the threshold of the minimum. What's
No, the minimum's 229.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay, that's gone up. Hasn't
So, but there are
sorry.
townhouses. There's plenty of
yeah, that's right.
townhouses that are available that can meet that criteria. It's just finding the right people. And I heard on the radio this morning that Frederick County taxes are now as high as Montgomery, and they said the first place to go look for a house is West Virginia. So, they said West Virginia, then they said Washington County, Maryland. So, people are people are coming here, and I am closing on my first Procter & Gamble loan, HAP loan, and unfortunately, he is moving from Harper's Ferry to Inwood. He's one of those ones, but I am going to start trying to work with Procter & Gamble to do some workshops over there, and I'm sure that we can find some more people. There is a housing stock, it's just finding the right match.
Mr. Nolan's point, just because I was looking at when they were increasing the inventory transfer taxes, the median sale price of a home in Jefferson County is around $250, so median. So he means half is more. So that's just.
Well, I was trying to figure out how I could get the sales price raised for our county. I did inquire into that, and I wasn't able to do that. So I did to see if there was a way we could get it a little higher.
Charleston, they just have no knowledge at all what's going on out here. I mean, even teacher pay, police officer salary, etc. It's just like complete. They're in like another world down there. So
They don't see it anyplace else
No.
in the state. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, maybe Morgantown. I don't think Morgantown's as bad as we are. Yeah, they're mostly apartments, but they have, I mean, their single families are, yeah. Anyway, well, thank you. Does anyone have any other questions for Ms. Strine? Well, it's time to open it up to public comment from anyone that would like to make a public comment with regard to it's a required public hearing to be able to approve the resolution and authorize participation. And so if anyone has any comments they'd like to make, now's the time to do it. I'll open it up to public comment. Okay. We'll close the public hearing, and I'll move to approve the fiscal year 2019 Home Investment Partnership Program and approval of the 2019 Home Resolution. Okay. Let me do this again. Okay. We held a public hearing, so that's the first thing we have to do. So then we have to request approval of the resolution authorizing participation in the Eastern Panhandle Home Consortium of West Virginia for the period July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020.
That was a motion.
That was a motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
So
work.
much, and I'll keep you posted, but we are making progress, I feel.
Sounds
Okay.
great. I know. Yeah, we'll look forward to having more
It's a little
affordable
harder
housing.
since I do live here in Jefferson County, because I really want to try people to live here.
Yeah, yeah.
DC is driving our market up. It's a problem.
That's
That's what
right,
happened
they
with Frederick
are.
County. Montgomery County moved to Frederick County and turned it into Montgomery County, and now it's going this way.
Right. So,
Thank you, Ms.
thank
Ryan.
you so much. Have a good day.
You
Have a
too.
good day, too. It's almost 11:15. I see Nick Deal is here. You just walked in the door. Can we move forward with that? Are you ready? You expecting anyone else? Okay, come on down. We're about 5 minutes early, but that's not a bad thing.
How y'all doing?
Good morning. Fine. How are you? Give you a minute to settle in there. And Nick is here to report on the JCDA activities and financials.
All right, I just passed around a copy of our financials. What I did was, we haven't had a meeting since, well, we never finished our meeting in November, and we haven't had one since, and so you've got one for November, December, and then you've got another set of financials for January, February there.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm happy to go through those, or you all can peruse them and see if you've got questions when we're done. However you all would like me to handle that.
I just have one question real quick.
Yes.
Looks like one of your checking accounts is a negative balance.
No. We do not have a negative balance in our checking account. However, we do have we've got about $85,000 in legal fees that we're ultimately going to have to take out of our, well, it's money that we have for infrastructure. And so the only way I know to do that, of course, I've got to wait for a board before we can decide how that happens. But we have the money in the bank, but it was not designated for legal fees.
It's not in your budget for legal fees. Yeah, okay.
So, I guess under current assets, checking and savings, the JCDA operating account at BCT shows negative $2,000, roughly $8. So are you saying that's not accurate?
That is not true. This is December 31st,
Okay,
and what it's showing
as of
here is...
today, it's not true, but as of December 31st,
No,
it
we
was.
have never been negative.
Okay.
What that is showing is how much was taken out or that's how much was spent in that particular period of time. If you go down we actually had in our account at that time the 669.
Oh, it says,
Okay, the cash sweeps account,
Right.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spent.
Okay, because it's just how I read this is your operating
Yeah.
account has a negative balance, just from an
Right.
accounting standpoint.
Yep. So that's just how this document comes out. Right.
So I guess next time around, you're going to provide the February 19 or March 19 ending balance sheet?
You've got January and February.
Oh, it was on the back, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have March
Okay,
yet.
so, all right. As of February 28th, so it corrects itself through, I guess, a deposit or a transfer.
It's the cash sweeps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Just,
Yeah, these are honestly confusing to me too. I actually had to sit down with our bookkeeper to...
just from a balance sheet perspective, just from an accounting standpoint, it's that point in time what exists in those accounts, what your assets currently are. So at that point in time, there must have been a negative $2,000 in that account.
This reads kind of like the blending of a balance sheet and an income statement at the same
Yeah.
time.
Right.
not-
Be-
yeah, it's not.
Because I can tell you that there was never a time where we had a negative balance in our account. We had $669,000 in there at the end of, on December 31st. And I know,
I
that-
recognize that the consolidated accounts together are positive, just the operating account had to have been negative in some, maybe there's no transfer into it or something, but as it currently stands, it looks like it was negative $2,000 at that point in time.
Well, it looks to me like that's what they spent in operating costs.
Okay, but that would be an expense, though. We're looking at the balance
I
sheet.
know.
right
So
now.
I
on a
see.
balance sheet, it wouldn't have been negative, but on an income statement, it would have been negative.
Yeah.
That's why it's kind of...
Maybe I'll sit down with you later and just look
Yeah,
at
I
this out of
can-
curiosity.
yeah, and we can rework however this sheet, if you need us to rework the sheet.
I don't think it is, I'm just curious, maybe maybe you do monthly transfers or something, I don't know. Just from an accounting standpoint, I see a balance sheet and I see a negative as an asset. So it's either it's overdrawn or there was no subsequent transfer into that account.
Right, yeah, I know that's not the case, but I understand
Please
why you say it looks
Yeah,
like that,
That's
right?
fine. I'm not saying anything
Yeah.
is necessarily
Yeah.
wrong at all. I'm just,
Okay. Anything else while we're reviewing those that's jumping out at anybody?
Can you explain, and this, I just don't know, what the long-term liabilities are that you have listed, TEMA, and WVEDA?
Yes, though, now, which month are you looking at?
I'm just looking on the first sheet, that's
Okay, on
as
the
far as
first
I've
one.
gotten.
Okay. On the first sheet, what you've got there, so under long-term liabilities, you have TEMA. That is a loan from the WVEDA for $3,180,000 for the TEMA building.
Okay.
So that's what it costs to have that building built. And that's what we borrowed from WVEDA.
Right, okay, so that's the West Virginia Economic Development Authority. Okay.
Right. And then the other is the long-term liabilities are long-term liabilities for the property, the remaining property through IJDC and WVEDA at the Burbardine Industrial Park.
So those are just assorted properties that have already had loans taken out on them and things built, and, okay. All right, thank you.
Anything else there?
Anyone else have any questions?
I have questions, but not on this directly.
Okay, sure. All right, anyone else?
Okay. Well, I'll move on to my, do you want to ask your questions now, or do you want me to do my?
I'll just ask it in general. I keep getting emails, messages that Nick Deal running everything without a committee.
Running wild, running amok, I've heard that too.
So I'm going to throw it out there and let you explain it.
Okay, but it's a lie.
Okay.
That's the explanation. I report to my board president, to my board treasurer. I talk to our representative, Patsy Nolan, regularly, and I also talk to Stephanie Grove regularly. We have done nothing that we have not already had pre-approved by our board. We have conducted no new business. It's just simply false. But there's a lot of allegations out there. I'm actually going to talk about some of those.
And to your point, I mean, you still have obligations that need to be fulfilled that were previously approved too. So you can't
That is
just not
correct.
pay something that was approved previously with a quorum board that approved it.
Right. For example, the TEMA loan. So I read some wild conspiracies on our TEMA loan. So somebody thought we somehow gave $3 million to the state. Somebody thought we gave a building away. There's all kinds of weird things out there. So what happened was we got a loan that loan was approved in our board meeting. That board meeting was in, actually I've got that in my office. That board meeting I think was in November of 2017. The board approved to do the loan for the TEMA building. The way that's structured is that so we borrowed the $3.18 million through WVEDA, and that actually covered the cost of the building plus the property. And TEMA has a lease with us that covers the cost of that loan for the entirety of the loan. And so,
You have the voting call, or roll call, who voted for that at that point in time? I'd be
Yes.
interested to see that. Is it possible to distribute it to the
Yes, I
commissioners
can
and then
email
to
it
the
to you.
public? It's already probably public knowledge anyway.
yeah, it's actually, if you just look on our
If you just
website,
even so
Yeah,
I'm just curious
it's on
as
there.
to-
And it was unanimously
unanimous?
approved.
It was unanimously approved, okay.
yeah, so that's one of the things that I've seen out there, is that people were speculating about whatever happened there. And again, that was approved, over a year ago. Another one, I'll just jump around a little bit. Another one, we did finally close on the Blossman property sale. That Blossman property sale was approved by the board in August of 2017, and it's just taken that long to close the deal. But that was done, and so we did sell a parcel, and that's actually in our financials here. So, but again, there was wild speculation about that too.
Does that have anything to do with the loss on sale of lease? Sorry? You know the loss on sale of lease on your income statement?
Yeah,
Does that have anything to do with that? Okay,
no, because I was just an outright sale.
okay.
Just so you know, there is something that our new board is going to have to determine. We sell all of our property in the park, and this is not me, it's what we've always done. We've sold all of our property in the park, advertising that we have utilities to the sites, and that they're available for purchasers. One of the things that, and again, this was all done several months before I came here, but what was done there is that particular piece of property, nobody knew that there was not water already at the edge of that property. And so they budgeted about $3,000 or $4,000 to bring water to the building. It ended up costing over $30,000 to bring water to the building. And the company requested that when we do have a new board, and we actually have that they've asked for for $10,000 consideration for the cost of that water, because they're they're paying a little over $30,000, and so they've asked for us to essentially reduce the price of the property or give them $10,000 back for that. So we have that money in escrow, and that's going to have to be decided on by our board, though. So just so you know, that's one of the things that we've got coming down the pike when we have a new board. So in December, we finalized the TEMA project. As we talked before, we do have several opportunity zones in Jefferson County. We met in December with the cities of Martinsburg, Ranson, Charlestown, and Morgan County Development Authority to talk about a regional marketing plan for those opportunity zones. We haven't gotten a lot farther with it since then, just because there's just a lot of uncertainty right now, and what kinds of projects we need to be focusing on. In December, we were notified by Thrasher Engineering that they were terminating our contract for the waterline project because we had not been able to move forward with financing. That's the water bond. And then we saw in the paper shortly after that Rockwell had taken over the construction, and so then we were out of the waterline business. So that happened in December. I attended the WVMA conference and Site Selectors Forum in December. In January, we did do the closing on the Blossman property. Again, that was approved in our August 2017 meeting. That's also available on our website.
Can I ask, what type of project is that? I mean,
The Blossman gas, it's propane. They do propane tanks. They actually already service a lot of companies in Jefferson County. They just didn't have a presence here. They were coming in from Virginia, so they're moving that operation to West Virginia, and they're going to be hiring a little over a dozen people. So it's a nice little project.
Do you recall if that was unanimously approved also?
It was unanimously approved. We are part of a 4-county group called WestPEP, Western Potomac Economic Partnership. And so what we do is we market this region to the D.C. metro area. And so we meet with our legislators every year to talk to them about what struggles we're having in this area. And of course, one of them is the issue with the property tax on equipment. And so we've asked them to continue to focus on that and see if we can find a fix there. As always, we asked our board for input on that, and we also look at what your priorities are before we talk to them, so that we can stress any of those if they come up in conversation. That was actually followed by the West Virginia Economic Development Council Legislative Conference. That was an interesting conference this year. There was a lot of discussion about what we needed to be able to continue to support development in West Virginia, not just in Jefferson County, obviously. And so there was some discussion again about the equipment tax. There was also some discussion about the opportunity zones and how we might be able to better market those as a state. And then there was some just discussion about site readiness and things like that. So it's usually a pretty good conference to go to. We had a survey, and the survey started on this probably 7 months ago. We asked them just to mark out our property lines as we look at developing the back part of that Burr Park. That back part of the park is right along some housing development line. And so we asked them to go ahead and mark out the corners and then do a 200-foot setback, so that if we did ever do any clear cutting or anything there, we would not go past that 200-foot setback. We just wanted to be sure we were going to be good neighbors to the folks behind us. And so that's done. I did notify the board in January that since we would no longer be seeking board approval for the bond issuance, because that had been taken over by Rockwell, and we were essentially out of the line there. In February, we were appointed a new board member representing labor, Dave Dingus, and I met with him, was very impressed at his grasp of economic development, and he's, as a rail guy, he had a lot of knowledge about how things work in the rail business. That's always been a struggle, even when I was with the state. It's a struggle to figure out who to talk to and how to get what you need when you're talking to the big railroads. So he's going to be a real asset to our board, I think. I did meet with some site consultants from the Baltimore area in February as well. We discussed some projects that were happening just in the Shenandoah Valley area, and to see if any of those might be good fits for us. Currently, as always, we spend an inordinate amount of time dealing with FOIA requests and handling our lawsuits. We do research on those weekly, sometimes daily. We are preparing for our annual forum on sustaining agriculture. That's going to be tomorrow. So I don't know if any of you have seen anything on that, but that's usually a pretty good event to attend. We are doing some retention visits. We actually could continue to do that, talking to businesses in Jefferson County and making sure we have a pulse on what's going on with them. And we will continue to do those because most of your job growth comes through existing business anyway. So it's very important to make sure those guys are doing okay. And we have been talking to site selectors and prospects about Jefferson County, making sure that we stay on their radar. We do have a few prospects that are talking to us. It's too early to determine how those are going to work. We've kind of intentionally not done requests for information for projects that are imminent, that are coming up immediately, just because we thought it'd be better to get some time. As you all know, because you all have had a very, very difficult several months as well. It's been a difficult several months for my staff. As an agency, we continue to be attacked on social media. In some cases, our own board members are attacking us. We've had people harass companies within our business park. We've had people making just crude or inappropriate comments to the staff about the agency. We've had personal property damaged. And of course my staff were not involved in any decisions making with this, with this particular project, and I wasn't even here, but that doesn't seem to matter. It continues to be a problem. I said all that to say this: my staff has been extremely professional throughout the entire process, and I am very, very proud of them, and I just wanted you all to know what a great job they're doing. So.
Just to that point, I understand members of the community have serious concerns, but keep in mind that the staff at the JCDA are just performing their jobs, okay? These people are just trying to earn a living to feed their families. So don't be maybe as forceful to the staff, even though they're trying the best they can to fulfill the requests. Just keep that in mind.
Anyone else?
Well, and I do commend your staff. I know, especially with their locations, sometimes you can feel like you're sort of hemmed in a room,
Yeah.
and somebody's yelling at you, and it can get uncomfortable. So I'm hoping they're feeling okay with their environment and their safety, and everybody be respectful to one.
This is a question not about your group, but we had some issues that they're doing a air handler out there. How are your facilities doing out there? I mean, there was questions about the building out there itself.
Which one?
But they're talking about the whole building, that they're going to have to replace the air handling system. But your offices were renovated fairly recently, so I'm hoping your section is okay, but I don't know.
It's the only thing that we've noticed in our section is, well, we've noticed one thing that's actually a bit cruel. When the health department or somebody on the other side of the building is making bacon and eggs in the morning, we can smell it.
Oh, I know, yes.
And we don't get invited.
And you don't get invited. See,
They're
that's
just going to start inviting you.
Right. We've noticed a little dust coming out of our ducts, some little chunks of things sometimes, but and of course in any building like that, especially buildings that age, you're always going to have the issue. Somebody's too hot, somebody's too cold.
Yeah.
We've had that issue, but yeah, with regards to the air in there, it's funny. I and one of my other staff our eyes have been itchy, and we don't know whether that's the weather or whether we don't know what it is, but it's so there's. We just notice it's there when we're at work, and it's not as bad when we're at home. So, but it's not there's nothing major. with that.
Well, there's been more water laying around than I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's just lots of things
It's-
growing in that stagnant water.
Well, it's my understanding this is the most water we've seen in, what, over 100 years, is that right?
Yeah,
That's just shocking.
yeah. We have some pumps in our well.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Sir?
You can't resolve this until you get a board, but if it is required that you record meetings or whatever, do you have the equipment to do that?
No.
I just have one last thing. Just, I'm trying to make sure we're all on the same page here. So the JCDA regarding Rockwell is completely out of the water situation.
Yeah, we have,
Nothing whatsoever.
no.
What else is pending as far as Rockwell at the JCDA? So everybody, there's no gray area, everybody knows what's going on. Holding the lease of the land.
That is pending. I don't see that as I hope that there's another resolution. That is pending. However, there could be other solutions to that.
So
And I don't mean to be vague, but I don't know.
Yeah, other than the lease, that's about it.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. Yeah, we're essentially out of the Rockwell business. I have people ask me every day, what's going on with Rockwell? I have no idea. I don't talk to them. I'm not sure what they're doing. I read about them in the paper, but that's really all I know right now.
Well, thank you, Nick. It's been very helpful, and I know the public appreciates your report, and I certainly appreciate you and the staff out there and for persevering through all of the difficult times we're seeing. So,
Thank you very much.
And we hope to have a board for you to work with.
Well, and I certainly appreciate your all support.
yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, anything else?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, it is 11:30, and we have some legal updates. Nathan, is there anything on here that you can tell us about?
Sure. Just 1 second.
Sure.
Yes, I'm going to pass over most of my things. I will report to you on a couple of issues. I guess the first thing I would draw your attention on page 2 to the next to the last issue, the discussion of the Board of Health septic tank permitting process. I would just report back to the Commission that the Board of Health has met since we last talked. The board is considering adopting a more definite appeal process that would make it more clear as to how to appeal a decision of the board. Currently being looked at is a policy that would address a lot of the issues that have arisen concerning what the sanitarians or the board should do in the event of a property that was permitted long ago, but that permit has lapsed and there's not good documentation in the file and things like that. That's being looked at. The board has, and we have discussed that once we have a draft version of this policy, we may discuss that with a couple of members of the development community and just get their input before we have a next board meeting. And so that may be our next step. But, things are moving forward as far as attempting to find resolution or solution to some of the issues that are there. And again, there was an appearance of the sanitarian and Dr. Didden here before the commission a little more ago. And they laid out some, so I won't rehash all those. The last item on the list, the Circuit Court Civil Action 18C-108, involved a Sheriff's Department issue and involved a car accident, and that's been resolved. So
Okay.
that one's off the list. I would
Good.
flip
Wow,
you,
good.
yay. I would flip you over to the next page, the top of page 3. discussion of U.S. District Court Civil Action 318 CV 122. That is the condemnation case from the Department of Highways, and there are, if you will recall, there is an area in the county that had had some FEMA. The Department of Highways is trying to build a bridge. The grant language says that nothing can be built on this particular piece of property, which would include the new bridge. The commission believes it would be in the public interest to build the bridge. However, we are bound contractually to not build anything on there. So ultimately, the Department of Highways filed a condemnation suit. FEMA joined in the suit, or was joined in the suit. And so you have now FEMA, the County Commission, and the Department of Highways are the three parties. We have proceeded through scheduling issues and some other things, expert disclosures and things like that that typically happen in a lawsuit. However, the Assistant District Attorney has succeeded obtaining some input from FEMA about trying to resolve it. So that's where we are. We're just trying to work that out. I think it's a case that cries out for resolution because it's not like you're building, you know, a bunch of houses or something on this property. It's just a bridge. But it's a contractual issue.
I did receive an email from someone at FEMA who wants us to say that we would like them to provide to place the bridge. So I'll probably put that on your agenda at the next meeting, assuming that Nathan says that's okay to
Dumb
do that.
question, where's this bridge at? So-
Bloomery Road.
The Bloomery, okay.
Yeah. And the,
It's actually to replace a current bridge,
Right,
to
yes.
make it a little better.
yeah, and I have discussed the waiver issue with, the lawyers in the case, and we're just waiting for the U.S. Assistant Attorney to provide us with the information to bring the waiver to you. So I will provide that to you when we get it. All right, and now that brings us to the last issue, and that's an issue that that you have retained counsel for to deal with some of the issues surrounding the Development Authority, and I believe that your counsel, Mr. Kennedy.
Kennedy is here. Okay, come on down, Mr. Kennedy.
Discussion, are you talking about the last one, legal memorandum?
Yeah.
What specifically?
I believe that Mr. Kennedy has drafted a legal memorandum to answer some questions that the commission may have posed.
Requested that, I think, some time ago. Yeah.
Not the last
He said-
meeting, but maybe the meeting before that you had requested.
So I assume that at least initially that Mr. Kennedy would request that the commission go into executive session because he will be providing you legal advice, which may and could involve liability issues or that sort of thing. And subsequent to that, I do not know what he has.
So do you want, you need an executive is there anything you can say in public before we go into executive session?
Well, I didn't get a chance to look at the agenda. I don't know if there are update items there on current litigation.
I think we have all them listed out
I
on the
have,
agenda, yeah.
there are
Everything is on.
issues regarding the pilot suit, the Vision Ransom suit are listed if.
And then I also had listed on the agenda the JCDA board quorum.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep, and those are, we can definitely deal with the updates, and then there is some legal analysis as it relates to qualification, membership, quorum, and those issues, which you did specifically ask me to address, so. So I think
In an
it would be
executive
prudent in executive
In
session.
executive session, okay, all right. So, based upon what we've heard, I'll move that we go into executive session to receive legal advice on the legal memorandum regarding JCDA, and litigation with regard to the pilot suit and other lawsuits brought by Jefferson County Vision.
And the JCDA board quorum question.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm going to say no, too.